Economic expectations and reality in South Africa. Stories of hopes versus outcomes in South Africa, drawn from the National Income Dynamics Study. Here at the National Income Dynamics Study, every 2 years we ask tens of thousands of people about their lives. As part of this, we ask them to imagine a ladder with 6 rungs. The top rung representing the richest in South Africa, and the bottom rung representing the poorest. We then ask them to say where they believe they are currently on this ladder, and where they will be in 5 years' time. We also ask them about their current economic situation. So over time, we can see how these expectations met with the reality of South Africans' lives. We see that South Africans are very optimistic about their relative economic future. In 2012, 62% expected to move up the economic ladder in 2 years, and about 79% expected this to happen in the next 5 years. In fact, on average, South Africans expected to be on the 4th rung of the ladder in 5 years, where they would be better off on average than 67% of the rest of the country. While it is encouraging to hear that people are so positive about their futures, it is unfortunate that these expectations are unrealistic. It is simply not possible for so many people to move up in their economic rank relative to others. However, despite this optimistic outlook, in 2012, fewer South Africans remained positive about their futures when compared to 2008. In 2008, 73% of South Africans anticipated moving up the economic ladder in 2 years, whereas only 62% held the same belief in 2012. So what do we see when we look at people's education and their economic expectations? As we might expect, South Africans are more optimistic about their future economic rank the more educated they are. However, those with no education still have very high expectations for the future. In 2008, South Africans with a tertiary degree expect themselves to rank at just below the 5th rung in 5 years' time, while South Africans with no education at all expect to rank just below the 4th rung. Because NIDS follows the same people over time, we can check if South Africans came close to achieving their expectations. In 2012, which is 4 years after the first survey, tertiary students exceeded their expectations and ranked on average above the 5th rung, and so were better off on average than 90% of other South Africans. Unfortunately, those with no education are falling short of their expectations and rank on average just below the 3rd rung. The average income ranking for those with no education may appear a little high. However, 2 important points should be remembered when interpreting these results. Firstly, South Africa is an extremely unequal country, and there is a much smaller difference between the average incomes of the bottom 4 income groups and the top 2 income groups. It therefore shouldn't surprise us that some individuals with no education find themselves falling into income groups other than the very poorest one, especially if they find employment. Secondly, the income ranking calculations are based on per capita household income. So where there are differing levels of education within a household, and thus differing potentials for income, the average pulls up the per capita income for uneducated household members. So we have seen the differences in expectations and outcomes by education. But are there differences by race as well? In 2008, while Africans are less positive about their current economic status than white South Africans, they are more optimistic about their futures. Africans expect to rank on average just below the 5th rung of income groups in 5 years' time, while white South Africans only expect to be just above the 4th on average. However, by 2012, Africans are no longer more positive about their future economic status than white South Africans, as they become more pessimistic about their futures, while white South Africans become more optimistic about theirs. So, what are the implications of all this for policymakers and policy researchers? We might think about the following. We see that the least educated have high income expectations, and these are not met. This must add to stress upon those least equipped to cope. What are the social and political implications and the domestic consequences of this increasing disillusion? People are optimistic about their financial future, but are becoming less so, with potential consequences for personal and business investment, along with mental well-being. This video was drawn from the National Income Dynamics Study. We continually follow 28,000 South Africans throughout their lives and collect a huge amount of data every 2 years. It's designed to help you create better policy informed by better research. It's available and it's free. Find us at www.nids.uct.ac.za. The National Income Dynamics Study, telling the stories of the people of South Africa.